of any other office supplies or anything that you need?
Not right off the hand. How's our paper? We got enough paper.
We're gonna have
letterhead.
2 more, letterhead?
Yeah.
get you to say your name and spell it for me.
Okay, Jerry Ivanoff, Ivanoff.
And what's your official title?
I'm the Education, Employment, and Training Coordinator, and also the Corporate Secretary.
You can go ahead and just look at me.
Okay.
And well, first of all, tell me a little bit about what are some of the programs that NSCDC offers as far as education and training and scholarship.
Okay, education, employment, and training is what I do, and that's basically it. We do provide scholarships for the residents of Norton Sound interested in post-secondary education or vocational education. Some people chase the degrees from the universities, but others, our board decided that others work better with their hands and not so much academically, so they have vocational education scholarships, $1,250 per semester. All they need to do is fill out our application, get 2 letters of recommendation, a letter of acceptance to whichever institution they plan to attend, official transcripts verifying a 2.0 GPA, and a current photograph. So far we've doled out about $1.3 million in scholarships. So we have journeyman electricians, journeyman carpenters, we have now school administrators, school teachers, the private pilots courses, and Tim Segunik, of course, went through our seafood processing class, and then he took advantage of our scholarship program and is now flying commercially with Hagelin there. So our board decided that what better way to provide economic development for our region than to improve the skills and the knowledge of our people so they can take the jobs that are available within our region, where it used to be only folks that came from the outside that took those jobs, and now our people are taking those jobs.
That was very, very well put. No, I spoke with both Myra and Lee over the past, Lee today and Myra yesterday and today. Excuse me, are you familiar with either one of those two people?
Oh, yeah, definitely. They're both from Uniclete, of course, and Lee, he took advantage of our scholarship program to get his private, or he already had his private pilots, his commercial rating and his instrument rating. Myra of Uniclete went to college and received her teacher certificate, and she taught for a couple of years over there at Elam, and she's now back in Uniclete. One of our teachers, a role model for our children here in Uniclete.
Take a pause for just a second. I just heard
A little bit warmer in there too, anyway.
Oh, I see. Well, talk a little bit about how does it make you feel to see people like Lee and Myra and Tim Segunik back in Uniclete?
That's the intent of the program, was economic development, and those are success stories. People come back and take those jobs, make me feel very good. Not only here in Uniclete, but throughout the whole region. Nome, of course, is taking very good advantage of the scholarship program, but more of our people that require or achieve their certification for employment, then the better off. We all do.
Very good. And talk a little bit about the internships.
We have internships available. In fact, we have one open right now with Glacier Fish Company in Seattle. I had one applicant just recently, but our folks would have to move from the village to Seattle, where we pay for the housing over there. We have a small food stipend and transportation and the salary as they learn the fishing industry at Glacier Fish Company. And we have internships in Anchorage, our Anchorage office, for, we're all getting old and older, and we'd like to train the people coming up, to take the positions within our own company.
And actually, while we're on the subject, talk about the different. You've got an office in Anchorage as well as here, and tell me the different places you guys have offices.
Okay, we just have the central office is based in Anchorage. It started off in Elam, But we had some accounting problems, so they moved the central office to Anchorage. The Education, Employment, and Training Department has always been in Unalakleet. I didn't want to move. I'm not going to move. They asked me to move to Anchorage, and I'm a village person. I need to be here, so they'd get my resignation first before I moved. But other internship program is quite a little more extensive than just the ones in our Harvesting Partners office and our one in Anchorage. We do have internship with the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, fisheries technician that counts salmon for us. We also have people that assist a fish and game biologist doing herring. In fact, they have a couple of them working with the herring biologist right now so that they can open the herring season at the most opportune time, bringing the most money to the fishermen that depend on it for a living. The processors, which of course need to make a profit, and NSCDC. To make a profit, we need to get 1,000 ton this year.
And when I spoke with Lee, he kind of showed me around the plant. He said he used when he was 14. That's where he started working, was at the processing plant in Unalakleet. And talk about that kind of opportunity, just basic jobs like that.
That kind of brings a smile to my face because that's where I worked, also working with the 3NC, which was three native corporations, the Unalakleet, Shaktoolik, and Stebbins corporations had a fish company to process the fish. I worked there to get my college degree from Stanford University, and that's where I worked. I needed to make $4,000 on an annual basis, making $250 an hour, straight time, and then for a period of time there, our fish plant didn't get into operation because they went bankrupt, ran into some financial problems. So it didn't operate for quite some time, maybe 15, 16 years, until NSCDC came in and started the fish plant up again. And unfortunately, we have a beautiful fish processing plant now. We have still the same amount of fishermen that rely on it for a living, but we don't have any more fish coming back. Without any volume, it's very hard to show any profit.
That makes sense. And we'll talk. We touched on Lee a little bit, but talk a little bit about Myra and first of all, just tell me a little bit about Myra. What kind of person is she?
Myra Slupko is I've known her ever since she was a little girl, and she went to school here in Unalakleet and went to high school here in Unalakleet, and then she went out to college and worked for her 4 years, getting her bachelor's degree in education, and then got her master's degree in she's going for her master's. Excellent role model for the children to follow behind her. And she definitely took the ball and went with it. She stayed focused and successfully got her degree. She's a teacher and quite proud of it. Like I said, an excellent role model to follow.
Yeah. Now, we talked about a little bit about the internships. And actually, while we're on that subject, you're talking about the folks working with the salmon. And what happens with a lot of folks? They intern with Fish and Game, and what kind of skills do they gain through that internship that they could later apply in a job situation?
Most of these internships are like, if they were doing the internships, the plan is so that they can gain the skills in order to be a fisheries technician, so that they can take those jobs and keep them on a permanent basis and not just as an intern. And for example, our interns in Anchorage, we had Jerry Ivanoff, who started as an intern. Simon Koenig, who's our fisheries biologist, that started as an intern. But Dina Austin started as an intern, but they all achieved full-time employment in our central office after they received their degree. And to say that they received their degree accessing the NSCDC scholarship, which provides $1,250 per semester, providing they carry 12 units of credit, 2.0 GPA. There's a few others like Scott Dickens that did an internship at a Glacier Fish Company. Then he did an internship in our office and then worked, and then he moved on to the school district. He's a information technologist over there. So.
And
They go into training first, and then I'd like to wrap up the employment, if, just from the top of my head, if I can remember that.
Sounds good. So, well, let's first talk about training. What kind of training does NSCDC offer?
I started working for this company in September 18th of 1992. As soon as I started, they said you need to develop an application and a training program so that our folks can go work on the factory trawlers on the Bering Sea. To do that, we must comply with the U.S. Coast Guard zero tolerance law, which means we need to get each one of our folks a drug screen, a physical examination, and a hearing test done, which we do over there in Nome at the hospital. Then we move them on into AVTEC. They go through a 10-day fishery safety orientation class through their department, and if they successfully make it through without any alcohol, then they're able to get their certificate, which makes them eligible to work. They have the physical examination, the drug screen UA, the hearing test, the certification from AVTEC. The only other piece of document that they need is an ID of some sort, a picture ID of some sort, and a birth certificate or social security card, so that the Coast Guard doesn't think they're illegal aliens and send them home. So from beginning to end, we've trained about 600 people in the fishery safety orientation class, approximately $2,000 per head, approximately $1,200,000 in expense to try to get our folks trained. But those folks have brought home $7,444,000 in wages. Our board considers that an investment. These folks learn CPR, first aid, beta machines, everything that they need to know to go out there and complete their contract safely. How to get in an immersion suit in 30 seconds or less. So that's kind of important when you're working out in the middle of the Bering Sea in commercial fishing industry, which is the most hazardous occupation in the United States. So yeah, we definitely need to train our folks. And so far we haven't had too many injuries. We haven't had any loss of life. Maybe a couple people lost a finger or two that, in a beta machine, but it's a pretty safe job.
So once again, let's go over those numbers again. You said the training has cost you how much, and then compare that to the wages again?
Yes, the employment or the fishery safety orientation class costs $2,000 per person. And that $2,000 starts direct from the moment we move them from the village till we get them back into the village. We fly them into Nome. We pay for their transportation to and from. We pay for their housing while they're there, their meals while they're in Nome, pay for the drug screen, the physical, the hearing test done at the hospital, their air transportation to Anchorage. I charter a bus, take them on into AVTEC, pay for their tuition and whatever they need over there, and then fly them back home. So about $2,000 per person, and about no better than 600. So rough estimate of about $1,200,000 in expenses. But they brought home, just from Glacier Fish Company alone, $7,300,000. But from all the companies, $7,444,000. The other fraction of the earning income come from Icicle Seafoods that processed our crab for some time, but we're now working with Royal Aleutians. Initially, we started off just employing our folks on the Pacific Glacier and the Northern Glacier, processing pollock, which is definitely our moneymaker. They do 16 hours a day, 7 days a week on these factory trawlers. But our highest paid worker went out and brought home $56,000 or $55,000 in crew share wages. He started on January 15th, and he was done on May 15th or March 15th, and he had $55,000 check coming. That's more money than I was making all year, so I'm thinking about doing it. But and then we added the Pacific Glacier has a total of about 96 people on board. The Northern Glacier about 67. Since then, we've purchased a longliner, the Norton Sound, which was purchased 50% with NSCDC and 50% by Glacier. And then we purchased another longliner, the Glacier Bay. So we have two longliner vessels where we have employment opportunities available, along with the two factory trawlers. And just last year we purchased the 50% equity into the Norton Sound Ventures, which owns 3 crab vessels, the North Pacific, the Ocean Olympic, and the Alaskan Beauty. And we had a couple of our folks, one from here and one from Golovin, just go out and do a couple contracts and brought home some crew share wages from processing crab. So that's an opportunity that I look forward to in the future, to get our folks in that open access. They just did the CDQ this year, but if we can get them to the open access where they get 30 million pounds in 12 days, you know, they can make a couple dollars then doing that too.
Yeah. So you talked about training, and you were just touching on employment there.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you want to add about employment?
Other than I was very brief on the internships. We do have quite a bit more. You know, we work on the internship program with QUARC. We have interns there, and then there are other interns. We work with the Bering Strait School District, other companies, Hageland, you know. But we were told that we need to work with nonprofit organizations, so that we're not just making somebody rich by providing them free labor, but where they'll benefit the people of our region.
And I think that was about all the questions I had. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
We've had Marine Crew Safety electronic navigation classes in each one of our communities. The reason for this is they learn how to use the GPS and how to go out there and operate our vessels safely. What required by the U.S. Coast Guard, they're constantly changing, and a lot of us didn't. I mean, we just boat around and never, you know, the Coast Guard was so far away that if any one of us got lost, it depended upon us to find our folks, instead of, you know, only when we're in dire straits and we can't get to them, possibly due to the forces of nature. But that's when the Coast Guard comes in with their Black Hawk helicopters and pull those folks out. But so far, the electronic navigation, as far as I know, we were able to pull 2 kids out of Shaktoolik because they gave them the exact GPS location after we were searching them for 1 whole week. You know, they survived for a week out in the country, but when the pilot gave them their exact GPS location, since the folks in Shaktoolik, the VPSO there, took the GPS class, they knew exactly where to go. It was no guessing, the sooner you get out, get them out of the elements and less likely to get hypothermia, then, you know, the safer they are. So safety first. And I think it saved a couple lives there. We've had HACCP classes, hazard analysis and critical control point training for some of our workers. I took that. I'm a commercial fisherman all my life, and I found out that there's a lot more to taking care of a fish than what we were able to. I was, you know, now asked to bleed the fish and to ice the fish. You know, normally you get a better price for this, but because of the situation of what we're in, all these excess requirements come on, but the price continually go down. You know, I used to make $100.25 an hour with king salmon. Make a total of $40,000 from fishing, just with 1 permit. Last year with 2 permits, I fished 2 openings. I caught 3 fish. I sold 2 of them. I ate 1 for supper, and I made 70 cents. They were 18 pounds at 5 cents a pound, so my revenues went from $40,000 in 1982 to 70 cents last year, and $40,000 with 1 permit in 1982. The 70 cents with 2 permits last year. So it hurts, yeah, and you can imagine the you know, subsistence is a driving force for the economy of the Norton Sound, and without our subsistence resources, the folks that depended on their commercial fishing just wouldn't be able to make it anymore. You take a person that commercial fishing, that's all he does, and then you take his livelihood and trash it, and he doesn't have anywhere else to turn because that's all he knows. He's a fisherman. I mean, they're bred, you know. But yeah, some of our elders, especially, that didn't have the training, really hurt when our fish took a crash. And last year it was most dismal of all years. So we're looking for other avenues to bring in additional income to the family.
Yeah, well, that very graphically summed up the situation. And I'm going to pause the camera for just a second.
What am I missing, Rich? I think so too. Yeah.